What's up, everybody? It's the Cyclone Fanatic Post presented by Karl Chevrolet. To give a quick shout out to our friends at Karl Chevrolet. The Cyclone Fanatic Postgame Report is presented by friends at Karl Chevrolet. People ask us all the time, how can they help out Cyclone Fanatic? Everybody needs a vehicle. And the next time you do, stop in at Karl Chevrolet in Ankeny or Stewart and tell them that you are there because they support your favorite Iowa State media outlet, CycloneFanatic.com, and the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network. All right, Rob. Obviously, quite a bit to cover here. After Iowa State's 31-14 loss to Louisiana to open the season, first thing I'm sure that a lot of people will want to know about is the status of Trevor Downing and Charlie Kolar for the Iowa State Cyclones here moving forward. It sounds like, at least on Trevor's part, they're pretty hopeful that they'll be able to get him back for their next football game. I don't know. He was down there on the field with his helmet on and was on the sidelines for the entire second half. Obviously never went back into the game, but I think that that's probably not something that they're too overly concerned about. And then as far as Charlie, sounds like he's day-to-day. I don't know what that necessarily means, and it's been something that he's been dealing with for a little while, so I'm not sure we got too much clarity on that end, at least.
Yeah, and I don't recall hearing a whole lot about an ongoing issue with him. Obviously, just a critical component to the offense. But, I mean, would he have helped? Yes. But the problem with getting separation, I mean, those are good defensive backs Louisiana has. I think one of them's on, and definitely on the, I think there are a couple of NFL scouts looking at him, Washington. But at the same time, your playmakers got to make plays. I mean, there were too many drops. Brock said he didn't think he played well at all. I mean, I think he made some good throws, but he seemed ill at ease. So, yeah, just one of those days where I guess we should kind of be used to it on season openers where, I mean, crisp, the antithesis of crisp is what we see. You know, they played hard, but just so many mistakes, -2 in turnovers. And then, like you said, I mean, you lose a guy like Trevor Downing. That's, as Campbell said, he's an anchor on that line. I mean, you're going to suffer. But, hey, grand scheme of things, does this loss mean really anything? No. But what it represents is obviously quite concerning given all the mistakes and how that's become kind of a trend, the details not being attended to.
For sure. I'm sure that there's some people who are probably wondering why we're still wearing masks while we're doing this broadcast. We are sitting in the Iowa State press box, and we're still working, so can't really take them off because it's kind of the rules of being up there. But yeah, man, I mean, I think that the thing that you can sense from these guys is just a great deal of frustration. But at the same time, I mean, you hear from Chase Allen, you hear from Mark Purdy. They talk about how they've been here before. You know, Chase can obviously he can relate to where a couple years ago when they lost to or didn't play their first game, but then they lost to Iowa. And then even last year, you played a pretty tough game against Northern Iowa to start the season and then lose to Iowa in the second game. So this is by no means a new feeling to them where they're going to be having a lot of people frustrated and stuff like that with them. But, I mean, I think that it's at a point where this has become too much of a trend where we deal with this year after year, you know. And I don't know what I don't know what the answer is, but this team is too veteran to have to deal with this kind of thing again, I guess, in my mind. I mean, I thought that this roster was the one that will maybe be capable of avoiding those kinds of things.
Yeah, and it still could be. I mean, you know, one thing we've learned about the Cyclones under Matt Campbell, and frankly, this has been a trend that transcends, you know, goes back to the Rhodes era at least. But, man, the defense played so well until I think it was really worn down on that final drive where Louisiana, and I'm going to write about this, just how dispiriting it is to watch them. They couldn't really get the run game going that much at all until they needed to jam it down the Cyclones' throats to win the game. And then, for the cherry on top, the guy actually, I think, sheds a tackler and tumbles into the end zone to put an exclamation point on the thing. I mean, the defense really kept the team in it. And as Coach Campbell said, between the drops or a missed throw here or there, I mean, there were a couple of issues where as you said on Twitter, they sure kind of were letting the D-backs play on the edge. that went against the Cyclones. You got to make plays. You got to, and they never make excuses. But at the same time, when you see the same issues crop up again and again and again, you just wonder if they can truly get them solved. But hey, they've surprised us many times before in ways pleasant and unfortunately, like today, unpleasant.
So again, to the people that are wondering on Facebook why we're wearing masks, it's because we are still in the press box. And if you have a problem with the rules of wearing a mask, then you can talk to our state about that. You need to give a quick shout out to Authentic Brand. Authentic Brand is more than just your source for official Cyclone Fanatic gear or Cyclone gear. An amazing team of designers. Authentic Brand can custom manufacture polo shirts, jackets, caps, bags, and beyond for your team or small business. Check them out online at authentic-brand.com. Look authentic, feel authentic, be authentic. I think the other question that a lot of people had is how Brock Purdy was going to react to today's game. Obviously, Brock did not play very well. That's no secret to anybody, but he owned that. He said that he wasn't really able to get into a rhythm during the game, and I think that you could see that pretty early on. Matt Campbell noted that he did get into a rhythm in the first half. I don't know that I necessarily would agree with that. But it looked like he was really he really forced things, really was trying hard to force it to Xavier Hutchinson a little bit too much at times. And I think that they talk about the coverage, which is something that Jay Jordan has talked about a lot in his time and when he's written for us and stuff like that, about how Brock has struggled against the man coverage. And I think that really came to roost today. I mean, Louisiana really took advantage of that, and especially in the second half.
Yeah, well, they were able to handle Iowa State's targets with man coverage. That tells you the amount of confidence they had in their abilities, and they backed it up. I mean, were there a couple of plays where you wondered why in the heck there wasn't a flag? Sure, based on what you saw, but other times, man, they're just there. They're getting there right at the time. That one pass to Chase Allen, it's where it needs to be, but the guy's just right there to hammer him and knock it away immediately. And there was no way he could make that play. That's just good defense. And that's a good football team. And they rose to the challenge, as Coach Campbell said when I asked him about them. When Iowa State had a chance to expand momentum, whatever you think of the term, but to build, strength to get something going, Louisiana wouldn't allow that. And conversely, when Louisiana had the chance to seize it, whether it be through their 2 special teams touchdowns, the big pass play when they weren't moving the ball at all for a touchdown, they did that. And, that's where, as every guy, Brock Purdy, Greg Eisworth said, that the Cyclones are going to have to look at themselves in the mirror individually, as Eisworth said, and then he thinks if they can make improvements and be honest about themselves, that collectively the team will do so as well.
Sure. Yeah, I do think it is worth noting that the defense did play pretty well for the most part during this game. Obviously, they gave up a touchdown late, but, I mean, this to me was so much about self-inflicted issues. I mean, the way that the Cyclones put themselves in a lot of bad positions, I think, during this game. And that's too good of a team to be able to do that against. Roger asks, were there any players no shows because of illness or quarantine? Jamie Pollard tweeted out yesterday that there were 0 positives on the Iowa State football team. So I think as of now, the answer to that question would be no. We'll reiterate that Matt Campbell said that Charlie Kohler remains day-to-day. We have no idea what that means. It was told to us that it was a lower body injury. So again, I have no idea what that means. I assume it's a leg thing. But they're hoping that they'll have him back sooner rather than later. Again, with Trevor Downing, they're hoping that he will be back sooner rather than later. I don't think that that's anything too overly serious. I would expect him to probably be on the football field for Iowa State when they go down to Fort Worth to play TCU in 2 weeks. But, yeah, man, I think when you look at what happened in the press conferences and stuff like that, it was a lot of saying the same kind of stuff. It's just they didn't execute well enough. Matt Campbell thought that they were ready to play. I thought that they came out in the first half and looked ready to play. And there was something that happened in between the first half and the second half, or late in the first half, where that just really flipped. And all of a sudden, Louisiana looked like the much better team on the field. And that was all the scoreboard.
Yeah, 21-0 second half. I mean, we don't usually see that. Even when they quote unquote don't do great in the margins, there's usually some flash, something happens. And in this case, it just never did. I mean, they might get a few first downs and then they turn it over on downs. Or there weren't many penalties today, but there'd be a false start in the middle there. Brock just misses. I mean, they did have a lot of pressure on him. I mean, they weren't able to answer the blitzes very well. Picked him up to some degree, but they had him moving not in the way he wants to move outside of the pocket, I think, a lot today. And as he himself said, he didn't think he played well at all. And as Chase Allen said in his defense, I mean, they've got all the faith in the world, Coach Campbell too, because as he rightly said, he's one of the best players to ever put on the uniform here, and all the records show that. I mean, what he's done on tape, film, video shows that. So I'd expect him to be back, but it's been a tough, not just this game, but the bowl game was tough. K-State was tough. I mean, I fully expect him to get back on a good run because he's got his head on straight. But, yeah, just there were a few areas of positive today, but the one glaring negative is you're -2 in turnovers. A team that Cyclones only forced 13 turnovers last season. I mean, this is, and none today. This has been an issue for a while. I mean, you go -2 against a good team, that's going to make it hard to win. But then you have the big play whenever the other team needs one. 3 touchdowns on 3 plays. I mean, yeah, that's how you lose, and that's how you lose in a way like this.
For sure. All right, thanks, buddy. We're going to get back to work. We'll have plenty more coverage here on CycloneFanatic.com coming up later this afternoon. I'll have a call on probably a notebook. Rob's going to have a notebook, probably another story. So keep an eye out for all of that, and we'll have it. We'll keep it coming for you guys here. Thanks for tuning into the Cyclone Fanatic Postgame Report presented by Karl Chevrolet. We'll talk to you soon.